When it doesn't check all the boxes. April in Alberta. Nothing makes sense. We had so much snow this winter, I started wondering if spring was just a rumor. And then the thaw happened all at once. The temperature spiked and the snow didn't melt so much as surrender. And honestly, I know winter's coming back, just to prove a point. But right now, I've got water where water isn't supposed to be. The property's flooding. A river literally runs through it. And after months of frozen and buried snow, it's almost too much coming in too fast to handle. Which is kind of where I am with work right now. Part of me is excited, and part of me is already feeling behind. Slower season was a while ago, and then two potential clients popped up in the same week. One I've already signed, and the other's close. A referral from a marketing contact and a connection made at a marketing boot camp years ago. The flood came, and now I'm standing there thinking, do I try to control this or just try not to mess it up? And that got me thinking about something that I talk about with every new coaching client I work with. How's your aim? Most of us don't have a positioning problem. We have an aiming problem. The bullseye comes first. Most people define themselves by what they do. I'm an email marketer. I'm a business coach. I'm a designer. And that's not wrong exactly, but it's starting in the wrong place because I'm an email marketer doesn't tell you who. And if you don't know that, you're not aiming. You're guessing. Here's the order that actually works for me. Who do you want to serve and why them? Start there before the what and the how, because when the who and the why are right, the what becomes a lot more flexible and easier than you think. If you lead with what you do, you get filtered out. When you lead with who you're for, you get invited in, and the work gets figured out after that. Well, I work for nonprofits isn't a bullseye either. Even when people do try to get specific about the who, they often stop too soon. I want to work with nonprofits. Okay, which ones? Nonprofits can mean two completely different worlds. A scrappy grassroots org and a bloated institutional charity are both nonprofits, but they are not the same client. And if one of them sits wrong with you, you need to know that before you build your whole messaging strategy around that category. This is where it gets personal. A woman I mentored a while back wanted to help rural, multi-generational small businesses, the kind where the younger generation was leaving for the city and larger corporations were starting to buy them out and shut them down. She loved those communities. Email felt like the right fit. So she started building a client list. And then she started crossing farms off her list. Really, most of them. She hadn't connected the dots that once an animal outlives its usefulness on a working farm, it doesn't retire to live out its days in the pasture. And that was the moment that it clicked. Not just a marketing mess, but a values mismatch. Turns out she was a vegetarian, unknowingly building a list of clients full of operations that harvested and sold meat as part of the business model. Now, again, that's not a marketing problem. That's what happens when you skip the hard thinking up front. The two questions that should drive your focus are not the what and the how. So can you actually get behind this? Because if you can't answer that quickly, your hesitation is the answer. Once you've got the who sorted, there's a gut check I use before I say yes to any client call, let alone any project. It's not just invoice it, it's actually support what they do the way a customer would. Maybe you don't use their product or service. That's fine. But does it feel like something you'd recommend to someone you care about if it fit their situation? And the people behind the business, are they someone that you'd want to know even if business was never entered into the picture? If the answer is yes, you're probably at least hitting the board somewhere. But if you have to talk yourself into it, maybe because the money's a siren's call, that's worth paying attention to before you sign on to anything. Now, not every flag means stop. Even with all that sorted, with the right who and the why, the gut check cleared, things still come up in discovery. And not every concern has to be a deal breaker, but some are. So here's how I sort them. There's the full stop, walk away. They can't explain what they actually need. I just know things aren't working is not a brief. It's a sign the goalposts will keep moving and somehow it'll feel like it's your fault. They want a specific tactic because it worked for someone else. So-and-so's on TikTok and making a killing. Or everyone's on TikTok. We need to be on TikTok too. That's not a strategy. It's not a fit. That exact thing right now, not necessarily right. The values maybe don't align. Not vague differences, but actively wrong. And when you know that going in, so don't go in. Second aspect is like slow down, pay attention. So the first question out of the gate is, what are your rates? Now, if you fall for the money question first, then they mention someone else can maybe do it cheaper. That's part of the good, fast, cheap triangle talking, and they're shopping for that impossible utopia of all three in the middle. The scope creep potentially creeping up during the discovery call. Started with emails, ended with the website, the social funnel, and you could also do all these things. When the budget's the same, that's a pattern. The project isn't ideal maybe, but the client, the relationship, referral source, and learning opportunity will put you on the board. This is where judgment matters more than rules. Then there's the money trap. Not because it's bad, because it's just convincing enough to make you ignore what you already know and feel. If you take a project that you know is wrong, you don't just feel it later, it shows up in the work. You walk away with some money and a story you'd rather not tell. Your clients deserve the best version of you, and that's the one that shows up 100%. And you deserve that too. So about those two potential clients of mine. The one I signed, a full website rewrite for a husband and wife service-based business. Not my ideal project, but all the values are aligned. Can I get behind them helping them sound like themselves again? Without question. Not the bullseye, but I'm on the board. And that one that's close to closing, what's a potential long-term retainer with a fast-growing, high-end dog food company? And as someone who genuinely spends more on pet food than her own, I have opinions. I know the customer. And I'd even be their customer if it was available in Canada. Now, we'd look at starting small and then growing from there. The thing is, they think the same way I do. They build something real, not fast. And honestly, they've been burned by a few agencies before, so they want to bring it in-house. I didn't find them because my messaging was email marketing for pet food companies. We met at a marketing boot camp over 2 years ago. We approached marketing the same way, and we had other similar interests. So the who and the why came first. The what and the how still being figured out. That's not a project, that's a direction. And those are the ones worth being patient for, even when they don't check all the boxes. So before you write another word of marketing copy, the goal isn't a prospect who checks every single box. It's knowing which boxes you need checked and going in with eyes open on the rest. Get the who and the why clear first. Run the gut check. Know your full stop red flags before you even get on the call. And as for the yellows, decide what you're willing to manage and what you can and will hold the line on. Not in the moment when the pressure's on, beforehand. Because that's the thing about building your own business. You're the boss. You get to decide who you want to work with, what you take on, and when you walk away. And that's the whole point of doing this, isn't it? Now, if you look back at projects that didn't work, and we all have at least one, it usually comes down to one of three things, maybe more. One, you genuinely didn't see it coming. And that happens. That's experience being deposited into your gut for next time. Two, you had a feeling, but ignored it. You told yourself it'll be fine. It wasn't. That one's worth sitting with. Three, you saw it, knew it, but didn't draw the line when the moment came. That's not a client problem. That's a boundary problem. And the good news is it's fixable. And the only way to get better at it is to look back honestly and know what was it that went wrong. So think of a project or two that went sideways. You already know which one came to mind, don't you? What happened, honestly? Didn't see it? Ignored your gut? Or didn't hold the line? And if you're sitting on should I take this right now? then check the show notes for an email so we can talk. Make it a great, easy flowing week.